Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I am your host, Sebastian Langdale, and I'm joined here with my co-creator, Austin Rackless. How's it going, Austin?
It's going good. How are you?
It's going great. Do you have anything special on this week?
I am actually fresh home from my first day at tennis camp.
Amazing.
It's only 2 hours a day, so it's not quite as over the top as it sounds, but I loved my 2 hours. I would go to full day tennis camp if they had that option for adults.
Is there a sleepover option where you can kind of just spend all your time there?
There actually is, and this is kind of like the teaser for that because this is through Rafa Nadal Academy. And so their main facility is in Mallorca.
Well, listeners, stay tuned for Mallorca Tennis Camp Edition coming up next summer.
From your lips, Sebastian. How about you? What have you been up to?
Yesterday we went to Blue Hole, which is maybe one of the unsung watering holes in the Texas Hill Country. It's in this town called Wimberley. It's one of these very picturesque hill country towns, and it's home to this really nice, secluded little part of the creek that you can float down in your inner tube.
How does it compare to Barton Springs?
It compares in that both are nice, cold natural water sources, spring-fed natural water sources on these hot Texas days. But Barton Springs is really its own thing insofar as it's in the heart of Austin. It's much bigger, and it's much more of a swimming pool. This is really just a little bit of a creek. I actually don't know why it's called Blue Hole. I'd say it's like a green stream. That really doesn't have the same mystery to it, though, does it?
It's true. But Barton Springs comes up in this episode.
Yeah.
Our guest today is Lucas Schaefer, author of The Slip, which won the Kirkus Prize and was on seemingly every Best of the Year list last year, and deservedly so.
Yeah, and that novel actually is partly set in late 90s Austin.
Yeah, I mean, he was really inspired by a boxing gym in Austin that he attended.
Yeah, Lord's Boxing Gym on North Lamar.
It's about transformation of all kinds, including the transformation of Austin as a city between the late 1990s and about 2014 or so.
You know, The Slip is a knockout debut, I would say, forgive the pun. And it is just a really awesome and great novel that takes some very unexpected turns, too, I'd say.
Yeah, he worked on this book for 12 years. He talks about all the moments of uncertainty over that time period of like, is anybody going to read this?
I liked how he shared that with us.
Absolutely.
And Lucas's husband, Greg Marshall, comes into the conversation a few times as well. Greg is the author of a memoir called Leg, The Story of a Limb and the Boy Who Grew From It. And he'll be the guest on the show next week.
Spoiler alert. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it. Here is Lucas Schaefer. Well, thank you for being here, Lucas. It's great to see you.
Thank you for having me, Sebastian. This is fun.
Pleasure. We like to start by asking about your most recent workout. So can you tell us what you did and how it went?
Yes. Well, I should preface this by saying I am in the worst shape I've been in about a decade. My novel, The Slip, came out, and I've just been in like book promotion mode. We have a 1-year-old. So the combination of those two things, I'm in that kind of like catch as one can fitness moment. But I am a Peloton person. My last workout was a 30-minute Hidden Hills ride with Ben Aldis, who, for listeners who are familiar with Peloton, may know if he has a personality, it is not revealed to those of us on the bike, which I really appreciate. Like sometimes I like some Peloton instructors, it's like almost a one-man show. And I actually have sort of created this whole backstory in my mind for Ben Aldis that may or may not be true, in which his producer is always in his ear telling him to have more personality, because every like 2 months or so, he'll do this thing where he'll start to sing along with the music, but you can tell, oh, he doesn't want to. He turns a little bit red, and I just think, oh, Ben, don't sing. Don't do this to yourself. But it was okay. My husband and I both became Peloton people kind of during COVID, as was the case with many. And that's a great workout. I'm a frequent Peloton user, but there is something special about a gym that you can't quite replicate at home.
Okay, so you both got into Peloton during the pandemic.
We did. He's like a diehard Peloton, like doesn't miss a day. I'm sort of a few times a week hop on there.
Is that kind of like your ideal workout week? Maybe like say 3 or 4 days on the Peloton, or do you like to mix in walks or jogs or anything like that?
Well, my ideal mix is, yeah, 3 or 4 days on the Peloton, and then I go to the town lake Y.
Okay.
I do like a little cardio there and then weights, more like machine. At some point, I need to like enter the world of like free weights. I'm sort of
Yeah.
like someone who really likes to work out, but also I don't think I'm a natural athlete.
Are you finding time to work on something new these days, or are you kind of just in promotional mode?
I'm in promotional mode. It's wrapping up.
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward to kind of getting back into all of my routines.
You were working on this lip for quite some time, right?
I worked on it for about 12 years.
How does it feel now to be promoting it, have it out in the world?
It feels great because it seems like people have been reading it and I've been able to have conversations about it. And, you know, before, when you're a debut writer, before your book comes out, you really have no idea, will anyone read this? And, you know, we've been fortunate to get some good reviews and I think get some momentum going, and there's been a lot of travel and fun stuff like that, but it wasn't obvious basically until when the book came out that, oh yeah, this is, people are gonna kind of get into this, which has been fun.
I mean, it's an awesome book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It has as its inspiration a real boxing gym
It does.
here in Austin where we
Yes.
both live, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Were you frequenting this gym when you were coming up with the idea?
Yeah, so I moved to Austin in 2006. I was 24. And I moved to Austin for a very Austin reason, which was no reason. I was sort of looking for something new and was floundering out of college. And I had a professor who had spent some formative years in Austin who said, you should give Austin a try. So I somewhat randomly did. And I didn't really know anyone. And I saw an ad for an evening boxing class at Lord's Boxing Gym on North Lamar Boulevard and figured, hey, let's give this a go. Maybe I'll meet some people there. And I instantly loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the workout. You just feel like you could kill someone in a positive killing someone way. And I went there for about 5 years very consistently. I was not competitive. I wasn't sparring. I have sparred twice in my life, and that is a very liberal interpretation of the word sparred. One of my two, you know, sort of quote unquote sparring times, I was working out with a guy who was maybe 10 or 15 years older than me. And he, at the end of our one round, he said, you told me you wanted to be a writer, right? And I said, uh-huh. And he said, you know, you really need your brain for writing. So I would maybe just sort of stick to the bag work, which I appreciated.
Right.
And then I also loved that this was a gym where everyone in Austin seemed to be. So every race, every profession, every religion. There were people like me who just moved to Austin. There were people who had been there for 75 years. There were recent immigrants to America. So it was just this great melting pot, and there aren't that many places in Austin, in Texas, in America like that where everyone kind of is together. So it was just a great introduction to the city. And I really wasn't writing very seriously at that time, which was nice because it allowed me to actually be a gym goer. Like I wasn't a writer who was doing an anthropological study of this gym. I was just going to the gym. I don't think it would have been the same book if I'd kind of been like, I'm writing a boxing book and will now go to this boxing gym to do research. I had really gone in as a young person looking for community and looking for a workout, and ended up spending a lot of time there.
Have you continued to box at all after that point?
I haven't. They're up north and I moved south, and I loved the boxing workout, but I really loved that gym. So when I moved, I wasn't so much like looking for a new boxing gym as just a new workout routine.
When I first heard about the slip, I was just so excited that there was a new Austin novel, because for a city I love so much and that I think has so much going for it, I don't think it's really represented in literature enough. And that was one thing that I really kind of attached to and loved about the slip. And I was curious about the decision to set it, at least in part, in the late 90s.
So the book is, just to give listeners just a really quick encapsulation of the book, you know, it's about this 16-year-old boy who in the summer of 1998 comes from Newton, Massachusetts, where he's raised and where he's from, to Austin. And he's this very hapless kid, Nathaniel Rothstein. He's very uncomfortable in his own skin. And in Austin, he has this kind of magical summer at a boxing gym with a sort of a new mentor named David. And at the end of this summer of 1998, he disappears, never to be seen or heard from again. And the book follows a huge cast of characters over about 20 years as we find out what happened to him. And, you know, it's a book that it is about boxing, but it's also about race, it's about gender, it's about immigration, it's about many of the issues facing us today. And I really wanted this high school student, like I wanted to get him right and get his perspective right. And so I wanted him to go to high school when I went to high school, which was, you know, I graduated high school in 2000. So that I think is sort of where the 1998 started. And then of course, Austin in 1998, you know, one of the themes of this book is transformation. So a lot of the characters undergo big transformations. And Austin in the 90s, that's kind of the perfect place to set a book about transformation because Austin in 1998 and Austin in 2014, when the book ends, are pretty different places, right? You know, it's a city that's always changing, always transforming, people are always complaining about the change without necessarily acknowledging their own role in it, et cetera, et cetera. So for all of those reasons, Austin 90s was kind of perfect.
What was your relationship to kind of exercise when you were in high school?
None. I was a theater kid and a newspaper kid. I sort of started to have a little more interest in exercise in college, but it honestly was really the boxing gym sort of kicked off that phase. And then I found it quite addictive.
You said you moved to Austin in, was it 2006?
Yeah.
It's a great place. I moved here 2007. I like the fitness culture in Austin.
It's a very active city. I've noticed this especially going to many cities over the course of the last few months. And of course, Austin has weather that allows for outdoor activity longer than some places, but it's a fit place.
Are there spots around town that you kind of swear by, like the Town Lake Trail, or do you ever go to Barton Springs or Deep Eddy or anywhere like that?
Before our son was born, we're frequent morning swimmers at Barton Springs. My husband, much more so than I. He would go like every morning. You might be sensing a theme here. And I would join him at times.
I think of Barton Springs morning swimmers as an elite group.
We would kind of be the people who, so before 8 a.m., Barton Springs is free. And so we would be the fools who were like at 7:57 running full speed through the parking lot being let us in. But the people who come 5 a.m., 6 a.m., that's another level of insanity.
It's a long lap.
When I go with him, we would do like a lap, like, you know, one full lap there and back.
Even that is a lot of swimming.
And that for me was like, that's good. I'm cold. Let's move it along.
Hippie Hollow comes up in the slip.
Oh, yes.
Did you have to do any research there?
So Hippie Hollow is they say a nude beach, but it's not really a beach. It's a rocky shoreline. I had a scene at Hippie Hollow before I'd ever been to Hippie Hollow early in the process. And then my husband, Greg, and I went out there because I said, well, I better make sure I'm getting this right. But then we kind of loved it. So we've gone a few times. It's a cool spot. I've only gone during the week. I've never been there when it's like really jam-packed. But it's an interesting place. It's not a place I would sit out at. It's like uncomfortable. Like it's physically, it's not uncomfortable being naked. It's like physically uncomfortable, like the rocks. The rocks. It's a little bit of like pop in, pop out, but I recommend it.
I've never actually been. When I was in high school, I was on the water polo team, and we had this tells you something about the kind of high school it was, but we had like a water polo trip to Hawaii, and we were on a snorkeling boat, and the snorkel guide stopped the boat in this cove and then pointed to the distant beach.
Yes.
We could barely see. And he was like, that's a nude beach over there. One by one, people just kind of started putting on their snorkels and like dropping over the side of the boat and swimming. And we just kind of, this whole team just kind of like emerged out of the water.
Just what everyone wants to see on a nude beach. The water polo team emerging out of the water to spectate. I love that.
Yeah. Is exercise something you do when you are writing as a way of kind of clearing your head and lessening anxiety and that type of thing and getting yourself in a good mindset to write?
Yeah, I think it's also a great brainstorming space for me if I'm like
Mm,
stuck on something, going to the gym or hopping on the bike is really helpful. I've learned about myself that I'm always going to be most disciplined creatively. So, like, if it's between writing for an hour and working out for an hour, I'm going to end up writing. But I do think my writing would be much worse if I did not have that outlet to brainstorm and to sweat and to reset. And I mean, you just feel good, right? When you
yeah,
exercise.
yeah,
I mean, that's why we do it.
right. And it doesn't need to be, setting records.
I've been thinking a lot about this just now that this is our first child. I've had to become more flexible in the last year. I mean, if you'd told me a year ago, hey, there are going to be some days where, 3 days pass and you really haven't gotten your workout in, or, 2 days pass and you really haven't written, I would have been like, I'm sure I'll squeeze it in.
Hmm.
I was not prepared for, and this sounds ridiculous because it's child rearing, but like how much
Yeah,
time it would take
yeah,
in that they obviously don't turn off.
right,
With everything, with fitness, with creativity. And then also you do find yourself with a kid eating, I don't know, you may be more disciplined than I am, but suddenly all of these foods that you had kind of banished from your life and not
right,
given a second thought to, chicken nuggets, mozzarella,
right,
when they're there, oh, there's, these 3 chicken nuggets. I'm not throwing them away. I don't know. It's just
right,
it's a different phase of life.
for sure. What was your writing schedule like before?
So I had a very consistent schedule for about 10 years. I would write in the mornings.
Yeah,
I would either go to the gym in the afternoon or hop on the bike. And then, in the late afternoons and evenings was when I was making the money I needed to do those other things. So I was tutoring, I was editing manuscripts. I'm sort of a classic cobble together person in terms of making money. And then to go from about a decade pretty consistently of that schedule
mm,
to this pretty different world. And the world of book promotion is just so much different than the writing.
yeah,
Writing is very similar to fitness to me in that it's like good calories. And book promotion I've loved and I've had fun with, but it's a little emptier at the end of the day, if that makes
yeah,
sense. You don't have that just ecstasy and elation that you do after a good writing day or a good workout. It's a little more, okay, I did my job for
hmm.
today. So I'm very excited to get back to the other thing.
Do you have a especially kind of euphoric memory connected to fitness?
I would say a couple of things. One is when I first figured out the speed bag, like really figured it
Mm,
out. It wasn't euphoric in that it was sort of a gradual realization of, oh, I'm hitting this thing and it's coming back, it's rebounding and I'm hitting it again, hitting it again, hitting it
yeah,
again. But, boxing is one of those, this may be true for all sports, but I think it's really true for boxing. There's just so much repetition
mm,
and you do it and you do it and you do it. And much like writing, you very slowly get better and very slowly get better, but you do the same thing over and over again.
yeah,
I would go, 4 or 5 times a week to the boxing gym. It was always the same hour and a half. I did my, 10 to 15 minutes of jump rope, the abs and stretching, the bag work. I mean, there was not really any deviation. And so, much like writing a book over 12 years, when you're starting, you're staring at a blank screen and want to, hit your head against the desk and then slowly, 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 those things happen. But then, the other thing I'd say is any heavy bag workout, I think leads to, if you're going a number of rounds, is sort of this ecstatic experience where you're sort of
mm,
outside of your body, or I'm outside of my body and in this other realm.
yeah. Similarly, is there an especially difficult period that exercise carried you through?
I think the book took so long, and there was a period at about like the 8-year mark where it really seemed like it might not happen. Like I was
Mm,
submitting parts of the book to literary magazines and just getting rejections, and I was getting agent rejections, and I was stuck on a few parts of the book. And I think, just having exercise as a reset was
Mm.
really important during that period, because it's also something, particularly if you're doing it in kind of manageable amounts, that you can guarantee success at as long as you're doing it. Like if you,
Yeah.
go to work out and you do work out and you,
Mhm.
really do it, you have succeeded in that way. So that's like your win for the day. So I think it has been important, because writing is a very mentally taxing exercise, both in terms of like actually doing it and then all of the world of publishing and the world of getting the book published. You need another release, and I'm glad mine was, that and not something worse for you.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Yeah. Was there a point at which the doors started to open for you? Was it landing a piece in a particular literary journal, or was it just, that golden email from an agent saying yes?
At every step of the process, and this is not a complaint because I think this is true for very many writers and probably most writers, but at every step of the process, there was a new obstacle in that, I had a really great publication I was in a magazine called One Story in 2017. It's a great magazine. If you're not familiar with it, they publish one story a month and it comes in a little booklet. I had a boxing story that didn't make it into the book, but many of the characters from the book were in this story. And that, opened up conversations with agents, but it didn't quite work out at that moment. One of those agents did become my agent, but that was sort of a 2 or 3 years later. I mean, this is just the writing world where something good
Yeah.
happens, but it doesn't quite. And then, you keep at it, you keep at it, you keep at it. But, until the book sold in 2022, I would say, oh, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. Like, there's really no way to tell.
Yeah. We like to end on a lightning round.
Okay.
The first one is cardio or strength training.
Strength training, I feel like, is the thing to do, but cardio.
Protein shake or protein bar?
Shake. We love some whey in this house. We're whey people.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
Greek yogurt. The
Okay.
texture of cottage cheese is a horror.
Okay.
Cottage cheese should be when you're, to me, sort of more like nursing home when the cottage cheese comes. Yeah.
Do you usually eat or not before a workout?
I mean, I don't want to like have a steak beforehand, but at least my way.
Sauna or cold plunge?
Okay, you know what? There are all of these places in Austin now that have the sauna cold plunge combo. So we just did the sort of infrared sauna with intermittent cold plunge, and I loved it. Can I say both?
Yeah.
Although I will say this also, I have a little bit of like a self-optimization pet peeve where I feel like so much of the sort of fitness and wellness world is moving in this very individualistic direction. And even with that, like I really had a good time with that. But like a sauna, I think of a sauna as like a communal space. Having like the individual cubby, I mean, it was sort of, romantic. We went as a couple, whatever. But I don't know, maybe I need the sauna cold plunge, like communal experience.
Yeah. I think Barton Springs is a good kind of example of that too.
A perfect example.
Maybe the next novel that'll feature in more. Some Barton
my
Springs.
God. I may need to like take a little Austin break for the next one. Just this was so like Austin-y, but we'll see.
Well, I think that is a really good place to end. And it has been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Oh my God, this was so fun. I love the idea for the podcast, and this was really a great time.
Join us next time as we interview author Greg Marshall, Lucas's husband. He tells us why, as a writer, he loves Peloton, and about discovering at age 30 that he has cerebral palsy, and where he and Lucas disagree when it comes to optimization. See you then. Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Rattinger. Our music is composed by Catherine Joy, cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division Inc. This outro song you're listening to right now is Go Home and Remember by Pocket Radio. Special thanks to Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.